All right. Legend of the Seagullmen came out February 9th, 2018. This is a super group coming from Brent Hines of Mastodon and Danny...
And the drummer of Tool.
Yes, Danny Carey, drummer of Tool. Pete Griffin, who's actually the drummer of Death Clock. Yes, okay. Peter Griffin. Sounds funny. Yeah. Pete Griffin, who's the drummer of Death Clock, I believe. Mm-hmm. And Jimmy Hayward, who directed Jonah Hex, which Mastodon did part of the soundtrack, too.
Okay, so it's all connected.
And then some guy named David Dreyer.
All right.
The Doctor. And then Chris DiGiovanni, who I don't know, but if you guys know who David Dreyer or Chris DiGiovanni are, please let us know in the comments. So this came out February 9th, and is a rock opera, I'm told by some.
I wouldn't really call it a rock opera. Like, it's certainly got a theme and all of the, like...
Nautical rock.
Yeah, and all of the songs are telling stories, but it doesn't, like, as an album, it doesn't tell one coherent story as far as I can tell.
Yeah, so let's start with the first song, We Are the Seagullmen.
We are the Seagullmen. Did you want to become a Seagullman?
I very much wanted to become a Seagullman. Okay, so I'm already a big fan of Mastodon. And the Brent Hines, you can just really feel on all the riffs in this album. I know you haven't listened to that much Mastodon.
The one Mastodon album you showed me, I thought was okay.
It was Blood Mountain, and that is an amazing album, and I love that one. So, We Are the Seagullmen. This is obviously like, you know, like if they do live shows, I've seen like a clip of a live show. This is the show opener. This is We Are the Seagullmen. Hey,
yeah, certainly you can like shout along or whatever.
It's so fun, and you get this like, oh, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, and it's certainly like it's a good album opener. Like it gives a good thesis statement as to what the album is about.
Yes, so it starts off and you hear the sound of sea wood, where you're like very creaky, and you hear the wind and seabells and
some seagulls.
Yes, obviously there are seagulls, unsurprisingly.
It's for like 30 seconds.
And then it just comes right in with this riff. We are the Seagullmen. It's very bouncy.
No, it's a fun bass riff.
It's got so much. And yes, and it's a really prominent bass riff, and I really liked it. It was really fun.
Yeah. My only qualm with this song is that I just don't like the vocals. I don't like... That's my problem with Mastodon, too, is like how the vocals are treated, how they kind of like fall into the background, and they have like so many layers.
Yes.
And, like,
if not mistaken, David Dreyer did the vocals on this.
Okay.
And so I've never heard his vocals before, so I don't know. So,
like, I didn't have a problem with, like, the way it was sung. I just have a problem with how the vocals were mixed.
I don't know. I feel like this sort of, like, haunting, sort of, like, it's a muddy, ghostly, earthy, watery voice was really, like, it fit very well.
I guess. Yeah.
And so this song isn't overly complicated. You know, everyone comes in slowly. First it's the bass, then the guitar and the drum. Everybody comes in together.
It's a pretty short song, too.
Yeah, and because it's just the intro song. And then there's the, you know, hey, we are the Seagullmen. Hey, we are the Seagullmen. We come in the night because we are the Seagullmen. We do all this stuff because we are the Seagullmen. It's just this very goofy sort of introduction to their characters. And if you've ever seen, like, the photo that accompanies the album, you can see what the Seagullmen look like and all the rest of the characters.
Silly.
It's awesome, is what it is. I already like it. And there's this, like, really sweet cacophonous sort of solo that occurs. It's very noisy. The whole album has a lot of moments where it's very noisy, but it's kind of like in a raucous, oceanic sort of way, like a sea storm is happening, I guess, is the point. And then it fades out again to the sea noises, you know, the waves and the seagulls and everything. And it goes and starts with the next song, The Fogger.
The Fogger did become foggy?
What?
I mean, I don't know.
Okay, so The Fogger is a song that is seemingly about and I believe on the album cover, it's a typical sea captain in rain gear with like a third eye shooting a laser.
Yeah, and
I believe he's just a creature that lives in the fog and kills people.
Yeah, that's what it seems.
Feeds on their psychic energy or something. So, this song is the most prog, I think we said when we were listening to it.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I don't know, the guitar riff is kind of, you said it was kind of primacy. It's kind of like bouncy. Yeah, it's kind of bouncy, spoopy.
Yes, and it has a very spoopy lead. It's like,
yeah.
It gets that spoopy feel because it's about basically like a fog monster. It's scary.
Yeah.
And
I thought the vocals were a little bit silly. Like,
what, you mean the content or the way they were sung?
Both.
Well, the content is, of course, silly because they're going for a sort of lighthearted as far as songs about murderous sea beasts.
Yeah. No, I don't mind that. Like, as much as just the... I don't know.
So the verse is, and he haunts, and he kills, and he watches,
also
and he does this,
primacy.
and he does this, and he says this, and it's very... Well, I mean, you can tell by the members of the band that this is very... These people come from prog rock background, so therefore they're going to bring it to this. And so the verse, step by step, kind of describes what this fog monster does. I mean, the chorus also does that.
Yeah.
The content of this is basically describing the fogger, I guess he's called, and the things he does. And the whole time that the verse is going, it does that whole... And the vocal kind of like lilts along with it. And he this, and he that, and it's very sort of bouncy and building and silly, like I said, in that very primacy kind of way.
And then when it gets to the chorus, like, this chorus, I really like it.
Oh yeah, where everyone together, like everyone else in the band,
yeah,
just
like
sings.
Yada,
He pulls the faces from our skulls. He pulls the skeletons from inside.
Yeah, I do like he does this like overly dramatic, like sort of voice.
I saw someone else say about this, but I also agree with this. It feels like when the sea captain's like shipwrecks on shore and everyone brings him inside for a drink, and he's like, I tell you what I saw in the fog. He rips the skeletons from inside. And it's just so wonderfully sort of like, it's the sea captain's warning, don't go into the fog. It's so fun, and it feels so like raucous and rockin', and I guess nautical rock isn't really a genre that exists yet, but they're trying to create it.
Yeah,
and so if this is what it is, I really like it. The solo in this one starts off as this relatively simple sort of classic sort of...
Yeah, and then it has a weirdly major section.
Yeah, the first part of the solo is this pentatonic simple riff, and then it goes like... It's very happy and sort of like bouncy and positive, and it's like, this came out of nowhere.
And then, speaking of coming out of nowhere, this like section out of this after the solo...
The bridge, I guess.
Has like no tempo.
Okay.
And is kind of just like timeless
Yeah, so I guess... This is why we call it like the proggiest one, because it kind of goes off time. There's like some very, very far away, very mixed back talking about the fogger, and then there's lots of
random drum things.
Yeah, lots of drum filling, like lots of like, I guess it's technically a drum solo. I guess you could almost call it, but it feels very odd. It makes sense. It feels like it fits with the song because it's very sort of floaty and menacing and nonsensical. But the problem is, I feel like it kind of kills the pacing.
Yeah, and the pacing is weird in general in this song, because then the solo comes back, and then it kind of like stops for a second and suddenly like steps up the like
the solo's like shreddy and super fuzzy, and all the solos on this have a very old school vintage sort of tone, like that vintage sort of fuzzy overdrives, like sweet 70s rock tone. I feel like all the solos have on this album, and this definitely has it, and it gets this very sort of descendy, scaly riff at the end that comes out of, like, once again, it sort of comes out of like that aggressive, faster solo end section. The song definitely speeds up in the end.
Yeah, and this solo starts to do the thing that happens on a lot of these songs where there's like vocals over the solo.
Yes, they definitely, a lot of the pieces of these songs just flow into one another, much like the ocean flows into the sea. Now, whatever. Anyway, but in the end, like I said, it has this very like intense riff that kind of ends it, which is weird because it goes into a song that has a very slow intro, which is Shipwreck.
Shipwreck. Did this song feel like a wreck to you?
No. This song is very well built, if a little odd, especially in the vocals. So,
I mean, you're gonna mention the vocals. I'll say right off the bat, like, is super obnoxious. There was this like in the verse, this swishy sound, like at the beginning of every line, every single line.
Yeah, it sort of every line kind of like almost fades in, like a reverb of the line fades in.
Yeah, and then in the chorus, the verse, the like vocals sounded like they're 10 miles away.
It's because this one is, I hate to say again, but the sort of haunting feeling, like the word haunting and ghostly, definitely I feel hangs on this, or I guess it haunts this album, I guess. So let's start back over at the beginning, going off that. The beginning is this
synthy biz, which was kind of surprising to me because the previous two songs didn't feature any synth business.
Yeah, I mean, synth becomes more prominent in the rest of the album.
Yeah, that's true. And so I was kind of like, oh, there's synth involved.
But it works. Like I said, once again, it goes for that ooh, spooky sort of thing. Especially because this song is about like a sort of Bermuda Triangle as its own. And it gets this sort of slow build-up drums that go into this like awesome sort of shanty. This is a very shanty-ish song, and so the guitar's like
the riff is definitely good here.
It's and it goes dee-doo-doo-dee-doo-dee-doo with a descending scaly riff next to it. Mm-hmm. So there's this sort of lilting chanty guitar riff being like juxtaposed against the sort of dee-doo-doo-dee-doo-doo-dee-doo riff that just, I don't know, it flows really nicely between the slow and the fast. So when the verse comes in, like, there's a place all captains and their crew are afraid of, it just gets this sort of like, I'm telling a story. Once again, that captain in the bar who washed up on shore was like, there's this place that's terrible and it's cold. And like I said, because it has that sort of like reverb fading in thing. If anyone knows what that vocal effect is called, please tell us, because I'd like to know. So when the chorus comes in and it says, X marks the spot where the seagulls fly, X marks the spot where we all die, or whatever. He's talking about that Bermuda Triangle-esque location where everyone goes to die. And it's just, it's very sort of, once again, it's very shanty-ish. Everyone can get in on it.
Yeah, the chorus
really
is definitely very sing-alongable.
So it definitely, like, this is the warning song, and it better be catchy because it's the warning, and every sailor needs to know the warning, and I feel like it gets that across really well. Excuse me. The bridge, he says, and the ship's wreck, and the ship's wreck, and he says it multiple times, like, do you get it yet? The ship's wreck. But then there's this, like, long, sweet, classic rocky solo that's just tearing it all up. And it's just awesome, and it's shreddy, and it's beautiful, and it's just, it gets that stank on it that just really...
I wrote the solo's nice.
Yep. Exactly.
But, like, I feel like every solo on this album was, like, nice.
That's because I think Brent is on lead guitar, so he's bringing his Mastodon experience into this, and it's really good, and he's really rocking it out. And then the final chorus comes in, and I would say that the vocals get more prominent.
Mm-hmm. And it's, like, over the end of the solo, and so it's got some more power to it.
Absolutely. So everyone, I feel like, steps up. Like, he goes, instead of being like, X marks the spot, he's like, X marks the spot where the seagulls fly. And then there's this, like, the synth becomes more aggressive, where it was before it was like, doo-doo-doo. It's like, dee-doo-doo-dee-doo-doo-dee-doo-doo-doo. It's really more aggressive, and everything's more aggressive. It's like, don't go to the X spot, laddie, you'll die. And it felt like a salty sea dog warning. Yeah. And I really liked it. It really prepares you for the curse of the red tide.
The curse of the red tide. Was this song a curse to you?
No. Well, one, I would say no songs on this album are a curse, really. They're all awesomely awesome in their own ways. But, so this is the longest song on the album at 6:35, and it's technically, I guess, it's in a ballady sort of place in the album, and I know there is a ballad later, because it's called a ballad, but this has that sort of...
Well, yeah, it starts with, like, piano over, like, acoustic guitar, of course, it's kind of ballady.
I was gonna say, yeah, it starts with this gentle acoustic sort of haunting melody that has this sort of slow guitar lead that gives way to the piano. And like I said, that's why it gets this sort of, like, rock opera-y feel, because it really feels like there's a group, like, playing by a stage, and this is when the choir all comes in, like, this is the choir all singing this song to prepare a scene, and they're like, because this is many layers of the vocal. I assume this is all the band members coming together to sing, or just many layers of the guy himself.
Yeah, I don't know.
And they do this gentle storytelling thing.
Yeah, like, I kind of, like, I guess the vocals are more emphasized in this verse, in the beginning of this song. You can understand the words very clearly, which is great because they're very fun.
It begins with... At first, I thought this was going to be a song about, like, the original Call of Cthulhu sort of story, because it talks about, like, all the choir sings together, this is an ancient man who opened an ancient door, and inside something was very alive, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's very sort of... And the whole time, I only heard this on the second or third listen through. There's the orchestra is playing underneath all this. It's not just guitars. There's actually those strings, which sound like a real group of strings. It sounds like a full orchestra. So if they did record with a full orchestra, we would love to know if you guys know, because that would be awesome. And then it switches into the chorus, which gains this slow building. This really intensely, like, yeah, something like that. And it describes the various things that the curse will do to you. It comes in the night, and it'll cause your throat to collapse. I think your eyes will boil out.
Yeah, your skin will fall off or something like that.
And
I don't know. It's just very violent.
It's very violent, but in a very silly way. Like in the verse, they mention like, all the fish are dying and all the dolphins are crying. It's like, what?
It's just very silly.
It's wonderfully silly, I would say, though. I really enjoy it. So at about 2 minutes in, it kind of stops the whole, like, piano orchestral thing, and it like comes in with this sort of like the heavy riff enters, and there's an awesome sick drum fill that shows that comes in, and now the verse and more of the rest of the song sort of although it's basically the same words and the same sort of group singing style, but it's all over these like more heavy riffs. So
this song definitely does a great job of building throughout the song. Like the instruments kick it up a notch there, and even like it jump like about 2 minutes later, it like jumps back down with the piano coming in, but then it builds up to a higher place after that.
Well, yeah, because then after that it does the hybrid where it keeps all the piano and the orchestration and it keeps the guitars, and then it goes into this solo that continues under the words.
Yeah.
The only problem with the solo is it's really, really repetitive.
Yeah.
First half is just like and the second half is just weep, 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 weep. And I guess it's supposed to sound like seagulls. I was even like when I was learning guitar, I was told like the bends where you don't mute it at the top and you bring it back down are called seagulls.
Huh.
So I wonder if they did that on purpose. And so
it's super repetitive, but it still has a lot of energy, even despite being really repetitive.
Oh, yeah. Well, then it switches and it becomes sort of this weird sort of atonal proggy solo business, and then it becomes like a sweet pentatonic-y solo. It like has multiple parts that it develops over time. And the whole time, you call it the dream chorus, but I would say it feels like a choir. And like I said, at this rock opera or at like a show or a play or something.
Sonic space filling singing.
Yeah, when they're all like, oh, they're doing the riff like that climb from earlier, and they're all doing it very hauntingly, and it's filling the sonic space, and you're just like tense, and you feel the curse of the red tide. You feel it. And then it goes back to that, and the outro goes back to the piano. And
it's nice bringing it full circle and making a complete song.
Yes, and it just goes back to that verse where it's talking about, the curse of the red tide and ancient man. It's very pleasant. Like I said, that goes that full circle. It feels complete and whole, and I just really enjoyed it. And it leads me to what I just know is the most pumped up, the most aggressive, the most energized song on the album, Legend of the Seagullmen.
Legend of the Seagullmen. Was this song legendary?
You bet your buns it was.
This song is great.
I love it. This song is just wonderful. Everything about it, from the tones, the singing, to the solos, everything about this is great.
Yeah. It's just it's just a straightforward rock song, like.
Yeah, so what's funny, real quick, before we talk about the flavor of it, to get your idea of what the flavor was in mind, what band did we both immediately say as soon as we heard this?
The Atomic Bitchwax?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it sounded just like that album, which, we really enjoyed.
Yeah, Force Field, and probably the albums before that, I don't even know. Yeah. We love that album, and this sounds just like it was pulled right out of there if it was weirdly about Seagull God King versus Man of War Man. Yeah. And it's just awesome. There's awesome, the riff is and it's this Motorheady, very sort of 60s, 70s guitars just coming in full force, and everybody's just singing
after the end of the last song with the piano-y stuff, and then this song starts with just aggressive rock riff, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I was talking about.
This absolutely had to come right after that slow, more balladic song, because it gets right into it, and it tells the story of this 400,000 year gap with the Seagullmen and the Man of War Man, and it's just awesome and ridiculous and so over the top. And the chorus describes the whole album so well that I have to quote it exactly. I believe it says, "Oh yeah," or something to start it off. Then this is entertainment. We don't know why. We can't explain it. It just totally feels like that's the mindset that this album came from. And it's just everything about this song is sassy and full of energy and is super duper righteous.
Yeah, there's really not a super lot to say about it, except it's just great.
Yeah, the solo, the first half of the solo.
I was going to say the guitar solo. There's some theremen over the guitar solo. It's great. Yeah, and so the solo is at first it's just a really short, sassy one, and then like I said,
the bridge has this very grimly talked vocal about the legend of the Seagullmen. And it kind of, and like I said, the theremin, and it feels really weird, but you're like, okay, this makes sense coming from these writers.
Yeah.
Like, I totally get it. And then there's like a slow solo that continues over the rest of the bridge, and then it amps up, and the whole song just increases in speed and power. It gets crazy, it's awesome. And Legend of the Seagullmen is just such a great song. Mm-hmm. I absolutely loved this song to death. It was powerful. I really enjoyed it. The next song is The Orca.
The Orca is the Orca.
Yeah, what? So the Orca is basically Shamu goes crazy and kills everybody.
Yeah.
That's what this song is about. Once again, it's this album is a lot of this sea creature or this sea power or this sea presence goes crazy and kills everybody.
Yeah, there's a lot of death and there's a lot of ocean.
Wow, it's almost like that's the point. No, but so it starts off with this gentle, like, sort of acoustic with, sort of with this atonal delay, reverby, clean lead going over it that you said made you think of.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's the same exact effect that Wherever I May Roam has. The it sounds just like that.
But then the rest of this song goes in this heavy, sort of psychedelic, rocky blues riff, like, something like that.
Yeah.
And it starts off by saying, he's black and he's white. It's
like, yes, orcas are black and white.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah. Enslaved for his name up in lights. You basically, like, you get it? It's like Shamu. It's like all them. And then the chorus is this, like I said, that and it's this slowly building. The Orca never sleeps. The Orca never sleeps. And it's like getting bigger and more powerful. And then I was like, the next verse is when it really starts on to, he'll dive out and he'll slay the fans, he'll eat parents and children, and he'll go absolutely insane.
You forgot after the chorus where he goes, he's a killer.
He's a killer.
He's a killer.
Oh, yes. I really enjoy that.
Yeah, well, I'm just like, thanks for stating the obvious, friend.
He is a killer whale. Whale.
Yep.
Yes. But it's the chorus, like I said, has this very heavy, and then the verse goes back to that sort of, this very sort of like atonal and full of delay with like those echoey vocals. The chorus is much like more like groovy and heavy, straightforward, whereas the verse kind of goes off and kind of explores sort of odd sort of sounds, and it's really funny. Like, it's not a really complicated song. It's just the Orca goes insane and kills people. The Orca never sleeps. The Orca never sleeps. The Orca never sleeps.
Yep. And he's a killer. That's like, lyrics wise, I felt like the song was very repetitive, like, because it just kind of describes the same things over and over again, and the like he's a killer part got really annoying after a while.
I thought it was funny.
Okay, I get it.
But about 2 minutes in, there's like the solo where this old school like lead goes slightly under the vocals. They're both going at the same time. And then in the bridge, it gets this like super feely sort of like slow jammy solo that just really kind of just, it pulls at my stank face, because it just has so much feel. And, then at last, there's just the chorus again. The Orca never sleeps, and there's some sweet like guitar, like get some guitar scaling business going on, and then it ends with like this really awesome like scaly riffy biz. But all in all, it's I would say one of the simplest songs. Yeah. Like I said, this and Legend of the Seagullmen are both really straightforward as far as songs go. They're both pretty short. They're both pretty straightforward. There's not that much complicated about them. Yeah. I will say, like I said, this solo was incredibly feelsy, but all in all, the Orca. It put me to sleep. No, it didn't. Because he never sleeps. No.
Yeah, I guess.
So the next one, believe it or not, is about another giant murderous sea creature. It's called Rise of the Giant Squid.
Rise of the Giant Squid. What'd you think of it?
So Rise of the Giant Squid was great. It's so fun and so goofy. And I know I describe every song on this album like that, but it's just they're excellent writers, and it's not a comedy album. It's an album that has comedy on it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, basically all the lyrics.
Yeah. Well, anyway. So this song is so it starts off with this sort of like bittersweet
very Western.
Yeah, nostalgic-y. Yeah, that sort of reverby, sort of acoustic guitar where you're like, oh, it's dusty and it's old and it's ancient, but, and then there's this sort of phasery guitar, and there's like a synth.
Boing,
yeah, that's going on at the same time. And then the word the verse is a spoken word sort of thing, telling the story about how this giant squid, Orca toothless, rises. It's a lady squid. Mm-hmm. Rises from the depths. She has a 90-foot reach, and she's going to go and destroy Hollywood Beach. Mm-hmm. And then the chorus goes.
And she's inflicting murder on everyone she meets.
On everyone she meets, she inflicts a murder. And so then the spoken word is more the verse, and then there's this the spoken word becomes sort of she inflicts her murder on everyone she meets. It's sort of
talk-singy,
sort of lilting talk voice, and it's got this sort of. I
really like that riff actually because it's like it kind of the do falls in between each vocal statement.
Yeah, the fill that ends like the bar thing. It's call and response between the words and the sort of thread. I like that. Yeah, it's really good, and it's really fun. And even though there's not a lot of complexity to the vocals, you can definitely it's mixed so well, so you can definitely hear what he's saying. Yeah. You can hear this story about this giant squid who goes and is destroying people and then getting beat the ever-loving fudge out of the giant squid. So then the end has retreat. Won't tell the story too much because you gotta listen to it. It's really funny. But about 2 minutes in, it goes hard on the solo. Just, I heard it and I was like, bro, this is so Alice in Chainsy. Because it just feels because it starts off with, especially if you think of Man in the Box, it starts off with that thing, and it just goes hard on this sort of super fuzzy Hendrixy, it's all shredding and going super hard and getting this awesome pentatonic awesomeness, and it's over a repeat of the chorus that it gets to this. It continues over a repeat of the chorus.
Yeah, this like I said before, this album does this a lot, where it's you have vocals over a solo, and it's kind of like that, and I kind of don't, because it's nice to hear the solo with all its clarity, but then you're used to the chorus already, so I guess
and because the word is more, because the vocal is more almost spoken, you really can't. It really does it does kind of that melodic death thing where you can hear the vocal in the tone of the guitar. And in the bridge is the rise of the giant squid. When her tentacles reach you, the killing begins. And she's yes, that is the thesis statement of the whole song right there. And he repeats that about 3 or 4 times, and it's over that acoustic sort of nostalgic guitar and the phasery and the synth, and it's all just, and it goes back to heaviness, and then there's feedback, and then the song ends with just chug, chug, chug. There's 3 random chords that are just chugged real quick,
which is kind of just weird.
Yeah, it kind of goes on for too long at the end.
It kind of goes on too long at the beginning.
Yeah, but the bittersweet acoustic guitar is meant to set you up for that feeling of deep sadness when the giant squid is coming to destroy you in all of Hollywood Beach.
I guess. I don't know.
Anyway, I just really like the attitude of this song, and I like that. Like I said, that blues riff where it had the vocals over the and then it had that sweet fill.
Yeah, I do like that a lot.
That was really good, and I quite liked that. And the solo in this song is one of the best solos on this whole album because it just goes so hard and it is so skilled and it's awesome. And then because this album is so short, we're onto the Ballad of the Deep Sea Diver already.
Ballad of the Deep Sea Diver. Did it make you want to dive?
Diver? I barely even know her. Anyway, so this, before we talk about the song even, this song is the song that was originally written that made them want to write the whole album.
Huh.
They wrote this one together. At least that's what I read somewhere. I don't remember. But this is apparently the whole thing was supposed to be nautical western from the beginning.
Which makes a lot more sense, I guess, because there's some all the Western elements that happen in this album, I'm that's kind of weird and random.
Yeah.
And then with these last 2 songs, I'm okay, I guess the Western thing's kind of a theme. This song is so extremely Western.
Yeah, I was is this on this song should be on a Tarantino soundtrack. It's it's just this sort of building Western tale. You expect a guy to walk out and be I'll challenge you at noon. And then he's out there and then all the ladies are in the saloon but it's a seaside saloon and they're on boats.
Nautical Western, whatever that aesthetic is.
I mean, space Western, Firefly, you know?
I guess, yeah.
So, Nautical Western. So the song begins with literally, they say the title of the song. Ballad of the Deep Sea Diver. And then there's air pump noises.
Yeah, and I'm like, is that necessary?
I like it. It frames it really nicely. But yeah, then we get these sort of like I said, these very Tarantino-y, tremolo-y guitars, very twangy, very warm. Being supported by this sort of hoo, ha, of like a chorus. Like I said, you feel like the two men approaching each other for like the duel. And it's about like these creatures that come from the ocean. And the deep sea diver, who's our hero, I guess, is about to get married, but then this all happens like the day before. Like he's about to get married the next day. He's like, the creatures come out of the ocean. I
feel like the song moves kind of slowly for the first like 3 minutes.
I don't know. I feel like it's a good building sort of thing. I like the way it does it. It feels like it's preparing you for something big, and this song really does prepare for something really big. Oh yeah,
definitely. Like after there's like 2 verses, and then there's this guitar solo.
Well, I was gonna say before that, there's the chorus. That's where he just goes like, "The deep sea diver, the deep sea diver." He just sort of says the deep sea diver repeatedly, and it's just like lots of emphasis on our main character, the deep sea diver, and like, he's so awesome. He's prepared to go deal with his deep sea things. And yes, there's a solo or lead guitars.
I like this solo a lot.
Why is that?
I don't know. I just liked it a lot.
Yeah, well, it's got these like powerful, like clean, like those westerny clean tones, and these vintage overdrive tones that are kind of like going against each other, where it's clean at first, and then they get the fuzzy sort of vintage tone, and then like the whole time they're like over the thing going on. It's very cacophonous. It's very over the top. Lots of different tones playing around. It feels like a battle. It's really cool. And then
after that, the orchestra shows up for some reason.
In like they're full, ready to go. Absolutely, everyone's packed up their best instruments. It sounds amazing. It's this, good and bad and ugly, huge. Yeah,
speaking of movies, this suddenly becomes a movie soundtrack.
Yeah, because you hear like that bling, It's huge and it's powerful and it's like, gosh, I can see in my mind. Like I said, the Western duel happening, but now I'm trying to imagine the deep sea diver going down into the ocean to do basically the Western duel, and I'm like, I can see it in my mind, and they've crafted this whole album with this last, so you're already in that nautical mindset so hard that you can easily transfer from the Western to the sea thing, and it's so good, and it's huge, it's enormous, and it's just
and it just keeps on building right into the end of the song and just ends super dramatically and big. Like I like that it just builds and builds and builds and never comes back down. Yeah,
no, this album ends so hugely and powerfully and strongly and a bunch of other adjectives that basically mean it was great. And it just, from that, what do you think of the album as a whole?
It's pretty good. I like it had a consistent theme, obviously.
Whoa!
And in terms of sound as well as in a lyrical topic. So I like that. Like sometimes I like concept albums.
Yes, this was really good. I loved the fact, 90% of it is songs about a sea creature that goes crazy and kills people. And I appreciate how far they can go with that concept.
Yeah, it got a little repetitive by the end. By like giant squid song, I'm like, okay, I get it. Sea creatures killing people.
Yes, but it's wonderful. And they say that there are going to be more albums after this. So I can only imagine.
Are they all going to be ocean themed?
Yeah, legend. They're the Seagullmen. This is their legend.
Okay.
This is the Seagull God King and Man of War Man.
I'm not sure how many albums that will last them for, but good luck with that.
I mean, Cokie and Cambria, almost all their albums except the newest one is based on one continuous big story that they've written books about and everything.
I guess Immortal did that too, and
Blastrik. Yeah, or however it's pronounced. No, but. All I can say is, this album I thought was really, really great. I loved the tones. It's very sort of, psychedelic rock, sort of classic rock, very 70s sort of rock feel. Let's talk about our favorite songs. Okay. My third favorite song was the intro song, We Are the Seagullmen. It's just so, bouncy and lilting in that bass riff,
It's straightforward,
It's so, and it prepares you, it puts you in just the right mindset for the whole album. It's so bouncy but fun, but still well written for being kind of silly. So you're not prepared to laugh at the album, but you're also not prepared to
take it overly seriously.
Yeah. So that was definitely my third favorite. My second favorite was Rise of the Giant Squid. Because I just loved that sort of, like I said, that blues where I went into the sweet pentatonic riff after. I liked Rise of the Giant Squid when her tentacles, are coming, the killing begins. It's all just it's very silly. She goes to Hollywood Beach, and it's just ridiculously over the top and super fun. And that solo, like I said, it's best solo on the album. I said it was kind of Alice in Chainsy, but you tell us what you thought it was. It's so fuzzy and fast and heavy, rocking and awesome, and I just loved it. And I'm going to save my number one because I suspect it's also your number one. Yeah. So tell me your...
Let's see, my number 3 was the same as yours, the We Are the Seagullmen.
Because it's just so good.
It's just such a great intro song. So I don't really have to say that much about it. And then my number 2 was The Fogger.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not expect that.
Thought it was spoopy and cool, and there were a lot of different elements to it. Even the, weird, no-tempo, sort of drum solo section. Yeah. That was kind of weird, but, there was a lot to it. It was just very interesting.
Waits, and he watches, and he does this.
And it made me, as soon as you said Primus, I'm like, you're right. It does make me think of Primus. And,
well, did you know in a good way. The first time they opened, I believe they opened for Primus.
All right. Yeah, no, is in Primus in a good way. Because I like the guitar riff, and yeah, it's a nice song.
And on 3, for number 1, 1, 2, 3, Legend of the Seagullmen. Absolutely. It was rocking.
If your title track isn't one of the best songs in the album, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, but it was so fast and fuzzy and rocking and hard and amazing, and it reminded us of the Atomic, and it was just so good and so rocking, and the solos were amazing, and there was theremin in it, and it's just...
For some reason.
Everything about it was absolutely great. And this album itself, it was pretty short. It's kind of funny to say 8-song-long, 40-something minute album is short,
It feels short.
It feels short because you're enjoying it so much. But so it's hard to pick 3 bad songs because basically once you've picked 3 best and 3 worst, you've picked most of the album.
Yeah. So
it's hard to say 3. So I'm going to say 1 bad song. And I thought that the worst song, as it were, was the Orca. Because it was kind of boring, I guess. It wasn't. It was great. And I loved tons of parts of it. The slow feel solo over the bridge was great. And the gentle acoustic intro was great. But I didn't like maybe necessarily that atonally sort of guitar intro. I don't know. And the verse with that weird sort of sound on it.
I'm inclined to agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
It's just, it got really repetitive lyrically. But, if you heard it in isolation, you'd be like, this song is great and weird.
Yeah, the thing is, this album is so weird and so unique and so new. And we've been listening to so much weird and unique and new music recently, and I love it. And this album is something that I didn't know I wanted. Western nautical 70s rock.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I don't think I'm quite as in love with it as you are, but
so it
was enjoyable.
What would you rate it then, scale of 10?
6?
6? Are you kidding me? This is easily an 8, if not better.
Really? Okay.
This album, 6?
It was, cute, I guess.
Dude, no, this is great. I can't wait for the next one. So, you're just wrong. Alright, so is this song going on your iPod?
Perhaps not.
Absolutely it is on mine. I loved this. And as we talked about it more, I was like, yeah, you're right, that was great. Oh yeah, this is more amazing than I remember it being. And it's definitely...
I thought it was pretty good, just...
6?
It's not quite my style.
Right. Would you recommend this to other people?
I'd recommend it to you. if you didn't already listen to it.
You'd be like, oh,
I would listen to this and be like, yeah, he'd like this.
No, but would you recommend this to other people?
Sure, why not? It's a fun experience.
It's unlike anything you've heard, I suspect.
Yeah, no, it's fun.
Not necessarily in there's a lot of straightforward pentatonic-y blues riffs. The solos, a lot of them are pretty straightforward, but...
But it's just the lyrics are fun and
the themes are so whimsical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's whimsical.
Whimsical is a great way to describe this. Which is kind of how we also described the Saturated 7, Primus.
Yeah.
So that's why so would I recommend this to other people? Absolutely. Not even because I think this is great, but because I guarantee you, when you listen to this, you'll be like, what? What? And you'll just enjoy it despite the fact.
It is an enjoyable experience.
Yes, especially for the Atomic fans. Those guys would probably really like some of this. But yeah, so in the end, I guess everybody's a critic, including us. Bye-bye. Don't go to the X spot, laddie, you'll die.